In this video, we're going to turn this rusty metal around our hatch opening into this. Keep watching. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Block Garage. I'm Brian. As usual, we're back to work on the 280Z again this weekend. Last weekend, I didn't have any rust repair for you guys. We worked on those delete plates for the side markers. Got those all done. Came out great, I thought. But this weekend, we're right back to the rust repair. Don't have a lot left, right? We've been saying that for quite a while, actually. But we are getting pretty close to the end. So this week, I want to look at this rust here in the hatch. I've been looking at this for a while now, and it's finally time to actually dig into it and see just how much rust is there. As you can see, starting right about here up to about here-ish, right up to the corner, it's pretty rusty. It's definitely pitted. It's definitely going to have to be replaced. There's a layer underneath it. This layer looks fine, this panel that's on the inside. It looks like it's just this outside panel here, I believe. But we really won't know until we dig into it. The other side is fine, at least it looks it right now. I haven't cleaned it up, but it looks fine from here. So my guess is for why this side is rusty and the other side isn't, the hatch seal goes right on the lip right here. You can actually still see a lot of it down here because it didn't all come off when I just peeled it off, you know, months ago. And the rust ends like right here. And that's right where you can still see a lot of that seal sticking. I'm guessing, and this is just a guess, I don't know, obviously. I'm guessing that it didn't seal against the metal real good here, but did from here down. And water, obviously it rains, it's gonna get in here. Water is designed to run down this channel and down here, and that's part of why this all rotted out, because it just sits there. But I believe that since this was stuck good right here, and this probably wasn't, it trapped water between the seal and the body of the car and just sat there and rotted it out. I don't know, that's my guess anyway, just because the other side seems to be fine. You know, you would think in ideal conditions that both sides would be exactly the same, and it's not. So this piece appears to go, it's between this layer here, there's another layer here even, and then there's an outer layer here. That's the actual outside of the body. So this is like a middle layer all the way in here, and I'm hoping, I'm assuming it's probably spot welded here. We'll find that out, but I'm assuming everything's spot welded right here, or pinch welded. I mean, probably all these channels right here all pinch welded together, and there's probably, yeah, there's definitely pinch welds here to here. So I'm hoping that I can just pop these pinch welds right here, or even just grind it off. It might be easier to just grind it off and cut it somewhere right along here and just replace from here to here. Hopefully that's all we need to do, but that's at least where we need to get started. So I'm gonna get started cutting that out and we'll see what we got. I got it cleaned up pretty good, just real quick with my cleanup disc on the die grinder, and pretty much most of the rust is right here to right here like we knew. It really doesn't go up this way much except for right here. We do have two bolt holes right here that we gotta be careful of. They're on both sides. It's for a little rubber bumper that goes in there to keep the hatch aligned, I believe. So I'm gonna try and keep those there so we don't have to mess with them. If not, I'll cut them out. We got measurements we can take from the other side. The only thing is, there's a little bit of rust up here in between this panel that sits on top of this panel and the panel that we're cutting out down here. So I don't know. I'll mess with that later. I'm gonna go from like right here down to here. Try to keep it in, try to replace as little as possible at a time. That way we keep everything as straight as possible. Well, this is not that consequential anyway because it's hidden anytime the hatch is closed. The only thing we have to worry about really is making sure it still seals against the hatch, but that should be easy enough to do. But yeah, let's get this cut out. So I can't get down in here at the bottom to cut this with my disc here because I would end up cutting into more than I want to. You know, I'd end up cutting through the structure underneath and up here and stuff. And obviously I could fix it if I did that, but I'd rather not do that. So I'm going to attempt to just grind the ends away with this little mini belt sander here. If anybody wants one, you know, Milwaukee and everybody, all the popular companies make them. But this one I got from Harbor Freight. It was cheap, like 40 bucks, something like that. You know, it's not battery powered. You do have to plug it in, but I wasn't sure how much I would use it when I first got it, and it has turned into one that I've used all the time. So it would have been well worth the money to get a Milwaukee one to match my other tools, but I got this one. We'll just keep using it. There we go, got it out, came out pretty easily. I did end up going through in a couple spots just because I had to guess where the pinch welds were. Got pretty close, but ended up having to cut a little more out than I anticipated, and I went through. Not a big deal. We can fix that. Overall, in here, looks about as I expected. I cleaned it up obviously already. There's not really any rust at all on this part. Just some light surface rust. Same thing you can see in there, which is going to be the interior of every panel on this 45-year-old car. So we're not going to worry about it. So I need to fix this, fill these holes back in before we get any further. That way we know this piece is all ready to go, and then we can make this piece, which it's a pretty simple shape. It's just got a lip on it, a bend up, which I mean, I'll probably make this out of two pieces. I'll probably make the back piece here, weld it on there, and then the bottom piece with the lip. I think that'll probably be the easiest for me. Be a little tough to grind that, but we've done similar stuff already. It's not a big deal. That's my tentative plan right now, but let's get this cleaned up and holes filled back in, ground down and ready to go so we can make this piece. Now, since we got holes we gotta fill, I'm gonna use my copper pipe here that I've squished down flat as a backer to put here. So we got something for the weld to hit against, and it's much easier to fill these holes in. Got it all nice and cleaned up, ready to go. Let's start making our new piece. I got a piece of sheet metal cut out right here, stuck in my homemade brake I made, I don't know, a month ago or so. I got a video back there if you want to check out how we did that. It works decent for what was essentially free. This was all scrap metal that I made this out of. So we're going to attempt to bend this lip, the outside lip here, on that. Yeah, no, that's not gonna work. There's too much play in these hinges. These are cheap door hinges. I think that's a lot of the problem, but also this sheet metal is so thick. It's 18 gauge, very hard to bend. I could get it to bend if I had left this longer. You know, if I hadn't cut this off here, had, you know, a piece of sheet metal that was at least out to here, it probably would bend. Well, I know it would bend because I've done it before, but I wanted to try it again just with it this thin, and it's not working. I don't want to cut another piece, so we're just going to throw it in the vise between a couple pieces of angle iron and bend it over with a hammer. Piece is all ready to go, all bent up. I had to do a little bit of shaping on the ends. You can see it's not exactly square, and that's because it was very hard to get in here to trim this piece off square without getting down into this piece, which I did not want to do. I did my best, but just trimmed that a little bit so it'll go in just like that and fit just fine. We got holes in it for our plug welds, so that'll go in there good. It is ready to go. I'm going to shove as much rust encapsulator inside my cavity here like I do everywhere else that we've done this stuff. That way we can hope to take care of as much of that rust and cover it up and it doesn't spread over the years. Really nothing you can do unless you pop all of this, the whole car apart, literally pop every panel off. It's just not gonna happen unless you dip the car, right? If you acid dip the car, a lot of that would go away, but I don't have the funds, don't have the want to do something like that, or we would have done it to begin with. So yeah, we'll shove a bunch of rust encapsulator in there, weld through primer on the back side of this and up here, and we can weld it in. Oh, also I am going to be using some of this Eastwood internal frame coating. It's got a hose on it with a 360 nozzle that so you can stick the hose inside your frame or wherever, any cavity you want, and pull it out and it'll spray everything. I've heard good things about that. I've also been recommended to use cavity wax instead. I have zero experience with either of them, so if anybody wants to give me some input, I'm all ears. We will get to that though actually pretty soon, because we're pretty much done with all the fabrication on all the stuff that it's going to have to be sprayed on the inside. You know, I don't want to do it and then go weld on it and burn all that off on the inside. So anyways, yeah, that will also be going on the inside of everything that we can get to, or maybe that cavity wax or something similar. That all welded in nice. It looks all perfect. I think we did a good job. Let me go clean that up real quick and then we'll start working on this piece right here. All cleaned up. She looks pretty nice. Very happy with that. Very happy. It came out very nice. One thing I would say though, if you're doing this, put your holes for your plug welds much closer to this lip. Just because I had some trouble grinding down in here. As you can see, like this one here, I couldn't quite grind off all of the inside of the weld. It's not going to matter because our piece that's going to go on the side there is going to cover that up anyway. But what I did is I again used this thing here and just got it in there like that. Ground it right down, no issue. So yeah, like I said, pick one of these up. Now I quickly cut out a piece here that's roughly the right shape. Just trace the back side of this here. This is the piece we cut out, but it definitely needs some trimming because right now it's not even close to fitting. It's way too big, which I purposely cut it big because I knew I was going to have to do some trimming anyway to get it to fit this curve around here. But easy stuff. So I'm going to trim this up real quick and then we'll be ready to weld that in. But I got a favor to ask you guys. So The hatch here was left open while the car sat outside for I don't know how long, a few months or something like that. And there was water sitting in the spare wheel well here. As you can see, it's quite rusty. It's solid. There's no rot through it. At least I don't believe. It doesn't look like there is from either side. But I haven't cleaned it up, so we don't know. So I have a couple options. We can try and clean this up and hope that it is solid and no holes. Or we could patch small holes anyway if we find some. But what would be the best thing to use? I mean, sitting here with a sandblaster is not something I'm interested in doing. Absolutely not. I could clean it up with my die grinder with a, you know, cleanup disc and stuff on it. Won't get it 100% clean though. Somebody in the last video mentioned stuff called OSFO, which is basically looks like it dissolves rust. You let it sit, it's a gel, I think, and it sits on there and dissolves the rust, and you clean it up. Something like that might work. Eastwood, I see, makes similar products. I'm sure many companies do. So that's an option that I can try. I've never done anything like that before. Would be interesting to try out. Or my wheels and tires I'm going to be running on this car nowhere near the original size. So there's no point in even having a spare. I'll do what I did in the Vets. Those don't have a spare tire either. So I just keep a small portable air compressor in the car, tire plug kit. I don't run flats though, hate run flats. So that's what I do in the Vet, never had an issue. So that's probably what I'm gonna do with this car. I mean, I don't see any point in running the spare tire. So I could cut this out and just put a flat piece of sheet metal over it and run with that. I'm not planning on running a fuel cell in the car. As of right now, I'm planning on running the stock fuel tank, which I'm going to need to modify somewhat so that we can get a better, or an in-tank pump in it. Yeah, so, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Should we try and clean this up with some of that rust dissolver stuff, or should I just plate over it with a piece of sheet metal and not worry about it? Yeah, let me know down below in the comments, but I'm going to go clean this up, get it fitting perfect, and we will weld that in. There we go, got it all finished. Just took a bit of grinding and it fits in there pretty much perfectly. And luckily I didn't have to mess around with these mounting holes here. We lucked out on that. So, well, let's go get this tacked in place. Oh, I almost forgot to prime the back side of this, but we got it. We got some weld-through primer on there and in here, so it gets in the lip that's gonna be covered up by this, just in case. If you have any issues with a panel like this, where this spot right here is actually a little bit low, I also can't push this part of the car back out. So my new panel, if you take a 90-degree pick or something like that, get it in your little gap, because you probably have a little bit of a gap there, you can pry it back out and get it perfectly level. All right, check this out. So if you can tell, you know, I've got everything welded up and tacked in place along this upper edge here on my new panel, right where it needs to be, nice and level. But that panel, just from manipulating it, cutting it, grinding it, it's not perfectly straight across the bottom edge this way. So what I'm going to do is I got my calipers here, and I'm going to measure just like this. I set this one so that it's exactly the right depth, so that it's just touching that inside edge. And then see right here we're good. If I go down here, I mean it's hard, and it's hard to see, and it probably won't matter, but there's a little bit of a gap there indicating that this piece is pushed out too far. So I'll use this just to get everything lined up perfectly all the way along here. That way we know it's as straight as it can be. There we go, now she's nice and lined up all the way across. So now we just gotta fully weld this. All right, well, we're gonna get this welded in. I'm not worried about this warping like we would an outer panel. So I'm not gonna be using air after every weld. You know, there's no real concern with warpage here because of where it is. It's gonna be hidden. It's not like a big flat panel that's gonna get a ton of warpage in it, and you know, there's a bunch of structure there. So yeah, we won't be using the air nearly as much, but I will use it every once in a while because the only real concern is getting it too hot that you start blowing through, and we don't want to do that. That just causes a mess. Now that we get that all welded, it's time to grind them down. Just gonna use my die grinder here, just like we normally do to get in here. Might take a little bit of time in the corner here to get it right. And then, you know, we'll get it most of the way with this and we'll smooth it out after that, just like we normally do. Check out how well this came out. Look at that. I am incredibly happy with that result. We just have one more thing to do. I purposely left this lip on the new panel too high. That way, a couple of reasons. That way I didn't actually make it too short and we couldn't do anything about it at the end. But also, just in case when I was grinding on here and stuff, if I accidentally nicked that with my grinder, it wouldn't matter because I'd be taking that edge off anyway. So, that's all we gotta do. Let's trim that down. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use my calipers here to get this height right here. And then we're gonna try and use that to scribe a line from here all the way down there. I drew on there with my marker real quick, just so that you can see the line show up a little better. Well, I am incredibly happy with how this has turned out. Check out the final results. It came out incredibly well. This is probably one of my better repairs. A lot of grinding, right? A lot of welding, a lot of grinding, but we got it. So I don't think we'll have any issues with this going forward. Everything is nice and lined up, all smoothed out, ready to go. And don't forget, it's hidden. I mean, it kind of sucks. Other than me and then you guys watching, nobody's ever going to see this again. It's going to be covered by the hatch 90% of the time. It's also going to have the seal over it, you know, for the hatch. So whatever. Still like to make it nice, though. So that's done. 100% done with that. The only thing I want to do, like I mentioned before, we got a little bit of rust up here between this panel and this panel. And I don't think it is going to be necessary to cut it out. What I want to do is I'm going to pop the pinch welds, a couple right here. Probably right there, and see if I can't lift this up enough that I can get underneath it, clean it out, probably spray some rust encapsulator in there, and then weld it back down. I'm hoping we can do that. That's the plan right now, and let's just cross our fingers that it doesn't get any worse than that. Yeah, there really ain't much rust under there at all. I mean, I'm glad I peeled that up. Obviously, this is not ideal. We've mangled this pretty good, but I can smooth it out. Really, the only really rusty bits, I mean, there's a little bit of surface rust in between the panels, which is going to be on literally every single panel on this car at this point. You know, 45 years old. Nothing I can do about that. But it's just a little pitted out here where it's actually on the outside of the panel this way, and it's not enough to worry about at all. It would be not worth the trouble at all to try and fix that and cut that out. So I'm just going to clean that up the best I can. I'll catch up with you guys when I get to that point. I'm guessing I'm going to do my best to get in there with just a sanding disc. I'll fold this slip over. We can fold it back up after. I think that should be enough to take care of this small issue here. Look at that. Can't even tell we touched it. So that's good to go. We're all done here. You can see I got some primer on it now. Honestly, I am incredibly happy with how this turned out. It really, I believe it is one of my best repairs. So there's another piece of rust checked off the list, and actually speaking of that, let's go actually check it off the list. I've been messing around a little bit looking at that windshield frame there. Definitely needs work, but don't forget, we got to get rid of that sunroof. And I'm thinking of going with a carbon fiber roof. That will fix our hole here and fix all this rust up here. All we'd have to do is pop that off, panel bond the carbon fiber roof on, and, you know, in theory, it'll be easier than fixing all this stuff. The only thing that might change my mind on that is if I can find a good roof skin to replace this with. I have not had any luck other than spending essentially as much as that carbon fiber roof is. So I'm sure that carbon fiber roof isn't too much for weight savings because this stuff's so thin. It's more just for aesthetics if I keep it bare, which I haven't decided on that, if I'm going to do that, and ease of repair. So that's kind of tentative plan with that. But yeah, let me know, like I mentioned before, what you think I should do here. I'm honestly undecided on what I want to do with that. Remember, we're not going to be running that spare, so that's not in consideration at all. Leave some comments down below. Let me know what you think of this repair. Like I said, I'm very happy with this. Turned out way better than I expected. It's unfortunate it's going to be completely hidden and nobody but us is ever going to see it, but what are you going to do? So yeah, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Like the video and leave me some comments, and I will see you in the next video.